I've been asked this question many times. How has customers changed their behavior in the past few years? Well, most of our customers spend about 16 hours online before they engage us in our physical showrooms. 95% of the customers start their purchase journey online. They go in, they visit our website, they look at testimonials, they go to third parties, they compare us, they check the prices, not only the prices in our market, the prices in other markets, if there are any recalls on vehicles, so the amount of width and depth of information that the customer is gaining or accessing has never been seen before. After accessing that information, after doing all that research, they move into the physical world. They would go into the facilities, they would go into our showrooms, and their visit is no longer seeking knowledge. Their visit is validating the information and the data that they've gathered. And the first thing they do is they look at the vehicle and interact with a sales representative. And that sales representative now needs to strike a conversation. That conversation is no longer the typical conversation. What's the horsepower? What's the available models? What's the available trims? And what's the price of the vehicle? All that has already been studied, reviewed, and assessed by the customer. What customers are looking for is validating the information that they have gathered rather than gaining information from the salesman. And the salesman is creating now a rapport, and this is where the biggest challenge exists. How do you make sure that the conversation between the salesman and the customer is at a level of validating the information rather than feeding data that's already known? And this is where the biggest challenge or friction point that is faced. And this needs to evolve. Now the salesman has to operate, has to behave in a different way. And the most critical element is now the salesman needs to gather information, creates empathy, and have an emotional link with the customers through asking questions rather than creating answers and giving information. And this is where the change is happening. After customers buy a vehicle, they expect that rapport, that relationship to continue. Surprisingly enough, studies have shown that 58% of customers who buy a vehicle don't get a follow-up call or a courtesy connection. And that is quite surprising at a time where customer acquisition is becoming more expensive and customer retention is becoming a challenge. So moving forward, creating and continuing this rapport between the customer and the dealership is quite important on the sales level and on the after sales level. And how do we transition to the after sales? And this is where the phygital experience or the physical along with the digital experience need to merge. And we need to build systems and technologies that are able to automate that relationship and bring the human element into it to make sure that the empathy and the connection is there while we ensure a systematic approach to follow-up. Technologies are there, talk about them at a later session, but we need to make sure that this continuation into the after sales is there. Customers stay with us on average 4 to 5 years, and we need to make sure that we engage them fully on those 5 years, and we don't only depend on them to come to us, but we're rather being proactive going to them.